Welcome to the Beauty Briefing at Liberty, a new series where we discuss the key conversations happening in the beauty industry today. In this episode, I'm joined by two founders who have built their brands around a spirit of intuition and intention. The first is Yasmin Sewell, the founder of Vyrao, a collection of fragrances that targets emotions and energy through scent, colour, crystals, and science-backed natural ingredients. Joining her is Kate Neal, the co-founder of Commune, a Somerset-based skincare brand that seeks to simplify daily rituals through beautiful design, ancient wisdom, and an overarching sense of togetherness. Today we're going to discuss what it takes to build a beauty brand, but not just any beauty brand, one with soul and intention, from the founding ethos to how this translates in the design, packaging, and world building. Welcome, Kate and Yasmin.
Thank you.
I want to start by talking about the beauty landscape today, because obviously beauty is it's just become such a huge topic. So maybe I could ask you both to start with, what is your relationship to beauty? Maybe Kate, you start.
Yeah. Well, so I think I came into beauty not really from a beauty perspective, but really through an experience that I'd had living in Vancouver, where we lived before coming here. And it was really through self-care and wellness and fragrance. So it wasn't really that I wanted to have a beauty brand. It was really, I guess it was a journey that came through discovering natural fragrance, where I trained in San Francisco. And then through a journey of moving to Vancouver, which is obviously geographically by the ocean, by the sea, by the mountains, and really having that connection to nature, having this connection to wellness and self-care.
And you said you did a fragrance course, is that right?
Yeah, so I've been studying actually since 2017 with an incredible natural perfumer who's based in San Francisco. She's called Mandy After.
So was it Mandy?
Mandy. And
she's the best.
She is the best natural perfumer, in my opinion. And she was just a great inspiration. I started training with her in 2018 when we lived in Vancouver. It's quite easy to go to San Francisco. So I was doing in-person trainings. I still train with her today, and I think just discovering the natural fragrance, the healing powers of scent. So actually looking at all the botanicals from an aesthetic perspective, but then seeing what the healing benefits were for each one, and I think that made me feel well. So that was really my approach to beauty. Yeah.
And Yasmin, there's a lot of synergy there in terms
I
of...
could have said the same thing. In fact, I did speak to Mandy when I was creating. She was one of the first people I went to because she really is the icon of natural fragrance. But it was exactly the same for me as Kate, actually, in many ways. I definitely didn't think that I didn't consciously say, I'm going to launch a beauty brand. In fact, I was almost surprised when I realized I was in the beauty industry. Vyrao is all about shifting your energy, mood and vibration through scent and through these products. So my intention was not to create a beauty brand, but to create a brand built on energy and vibration. And if energy is the source of everything, which it is, then how do I channel energy into a product? So Vyrao came from that. And then, of course, I'm like, I'm here at Liberty talking about the beauty industry.
I'm really interested to ask you both why you think that in this sort of today's beauty landscape, beauty brands like yours that are so built on sort of intention and intuition, why they're resonating so well with beauty consumers, and I suppose consumers more widely, because it's not just a beauty consumer.
Yeah, I think you're right in saying it's not just a beauty consumer. I think who we're resonating with is a group of people who really share this kind of desire to connect, who are sensitive to energy and intuition. I think you can never be everything to everybody, and I think we're appealing to a certain customer.
It's almost like you two are the Trojan horses of beauty, both for yourselves and for the customer. We find ourselves in the beauty industry without really realising.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the beauty of the industry today. It's, no pun intended, but it is so broad, and there really is, it's sort of diversified so much that there is a pocket for every different mood and interest.
And I think really it's just an expression, I think, for both of us of what we're feeling.
I also think that if we're talking about energy and vibration, I've been told recently, and I get it, that authenticity has the highest vibration of any emotion or any feeling. So I think that people can sense when something is coming from a really authentic place. And I think that there's, not that I'm dissing the industry or the brands, but there are a lot of brands that have come from a marketing company or maybe a finance company or someone who's like, oh, here's a trend, and this is a business that we can create.
I think what we're both doing.
100%.
And I think
I got goosebumps on that.
Yeah, me too, actually.
Double goosebumps. I mean, there's a sign.
I think we're approaching our brands from gut, from intuition, but also from the influences that we've both had in fashion, where design is so crucial.
I'm also noticing people who don't even like fragrance are coming to me, people who are not fragrance people.
Exactly.
Yes, fragrance people for sure, who are coming to look for a new way of buying perfume, but also people who are like, I've never really worn perfume before because, I don't really like what I can get in the airport. They think about the airport.
I mean, for us, actually, for both of us, we've taken this aesthetic approach. So, I'm very interested in the power of neuroaesthetics, and the impact that the aesthetics have on the brain. So when I wake up in the morning, I want to go and look outside and look at the nature. And then when I go for my shower, I want to look at a beautiful bottle.
I want to talk to you both a bit of your brands. So maybe Yasmin, we start with you on this one. Can you talk about that in terms of the creative direction and being like, okay, I have this feeling and I have these scents and I want to communicate this vibration. How did you begin building that out?
Yeah, that was fun. Turning Vyrao, this concept, into something visually was super interesting. And color was a big part of, because color is energy and vibration. And I think the neuroaesthetics on color is so strong. When you look at color and see color, if you walk outside and you see a blue sky and green trees,
immediately feel good.
You are definitely going to feel better. And, color is extraordinary for vibration and healing. So we look at everything from that lens, healing through the senses, whether it be smell, taste, touch, sight. So visual is a huge part. So every single imagery, campaign, bottle, everything we do has so much intention. Every bottle we design, the bottle design and the color and choosing the right color that matches the vibration and the emotion of that fragrance can quite often take longer than the making of the fragrance itself. Because I have synesthesia where I can smell something and see the color. I connect particularly color and smell. So I'll have my scent and then the color's in my mind and then it takes a long time to get to the color that's in my brain. But in terms of the campaigns, even the logo and everything is very collaborative with my team, and even every photographer we work with, we choose them based on how we connect with them. Are they the right person to showcase and visualize my brand? I don't work with people that we don't connect with or get on with.
It goes back to energy. It's really, everything is all about energy.
So if we choose an amazing young photographer or artist, it's because there's a complete connection and we feel something with them. And we quite often give the photographer or talent a lot of freedom, because when we hand to them and go, we want you to shoot this campaign, we don't we're not heavy on them. We're like, we trust you, we love your vision, and they bring it to life with us. So we're very collaborative. I think we're super creative, and everything, you have to look at everything and it has to make you feel a certain way. And connect with the exact emotion that we're trying to tell in every single fragrance.
I'd love to ask you, Kate, about the decision to put people on your packaging, because that might be something that someone sees and they almost don't even think about, but actually is a very intentional
It's a very conscious decision. And I think for us, what really came first was our brand name, Commune. And it was really this idea of bringing like-minded people together who share the same thoughts, values and beliefs. So very early on, we set out what our values were, which were really design, first and foremost, sustainability and community. So when we started thinking about the expression of all of this, it was really important for us that this brand was about the people. It was about the people in the commune. So it made kind of sense for us when we were thinking about the packaging to feature people and to shoot in Somerset, to actually reflect the nature that surrounds us.
So Yasmin, one of the things I wanted to ask you about is that you've never had any faces of Vyrao before. You have done lots of different creative executions. I really like how you work with digital art sometimes, but for your two new fragrances, you actually have two faces of the fragrances. So what was that decision-making process?
Yeah, totally. Throughout the process of the last 4 years, there has been thoughts around faces, and there's people I've approached, and they have to really feel right. I definitely wasn't anti using faces, but it really had to be totally authentic to that product, that emotion, and at that moment. So, and weirdly, you know, both Mia Khalifa and Issa Maya were kind of right in front of me. They were right there. Mia was one of our best customers. She was a huge Vyrao girl. She was always messaging us. She was just like in love with the brand. And I was always like, oh, we should do something with her. We should do something with her. And then, of course, I'm creating these fragrances for sexuality and arousal and confidence. And I'm thinking, is she too obvious to use for that? There was almost a point where I was like, am I being too obvious by using her? And I really did think about it. But when I approached her and spoke to her, it was like so magical. And, you know, when I called her, she was like, Yasmin, I was just sitting here burning your incense, manifesting that you'll work with me.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, we're doing it. And then, you know, Issa May has also become a really dear friend. And, you know, it was just one of those things that just all sort of felt right. And we did have 2 fragrances. One of them was different. And I looked at Issa May, I look at her face looks like a peach, you know, and we've got this peach fragrance for the other. And it was just one of those really, it wasn't super calculated. It wasn't like, we're going to launch these fragrances. These are around sexuality. We've got to go more commercial and get faces. Yeah. It just really did kind of flow together. And I have had discussions with people before. I mean, at one point I was speaking to David Lynch about doing the 6th, which was mindfulness.
Oh, rest in peace.
And he loved the brand. You know, so there was goosebumps. There was extraordinary people that there was conversations with, but it really had to feel right. And again, we're a small brand. We don't have these huge marketing budgets to do things at the level of fragrance brands in my world. So these people came on board because they wanted to come on board.
And that's really lovely.
Yeah.
Really refreshing.
And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for that. And so it all just sort of came together really beautifully. Yeah.
Kate, if you had to choose a face of Commune, who would it be?
I don't think Commune's about one person.
Yeah.
It's about a group of people. So, and I think kind of intentionally, probably that's why Remy, my husband and co-founder, and I don't really appear so much front facing, because for us, it's really about this community of different people. So I don't think there'll be one face.
Yeah, that makes total sense. I remember when I was launching the brand, I called it Vyrao. It wasn't my name, and I was very much like, I think having done so many fashion roles where I was fronting the person or fronting the retailer or being there in the press, I was like kind of over it. And I remember thinking, this is not about me. Vyrao is not about me at all. It's so much bigger than me. It's about energy. It's far beyond anything. So I was saying to everyone in my team, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to be in the, you know, I don't want to be. But I've come to realize, I think what's worked for my brand, because it needs so much education. And also it's a fragrance. So you don't just sort of grab it quickly. But I came to realize that when I would do a video explaining the fragrance, that was the video that worked. Yeah. So I've now done a little bit more, and you probably see me a bit more on our Instagram, which was never my intention.
Yeah, but I think it's very true. And I think without a doubt, you know, consumers do like to know who's behind the brand.
It's like when you speak about the brand, it resonates so much.
It resonates, yeah. So I think, you know, to a certain extent, it's unavoidable. I think for us, it wouldn't, you know, it's just hard to pick one face. For communication.
When we think about, you know, the sort of brand building side of things, obviously, you know, you have your direct to consumer business, and Kate, you have your store in Somerset, but obviously you begin to be stocked in environments where you are alongside other brands, you have wholesalers. So for both of you, what have been the important things to think about in terms of how you communicate, you know, the singular experience of your brand when you are in an environment that you can't necessarily control?
I think for us, we obviously opened a physical store very early on in our journey. And that was really, you know, we're called Commune. We always envisaged this brand to live in a very physical way where people can physically connect with each other. So, you know, we started the brand in Somerset, in a tiny place called Bruton. You know, the high street's got probably 20 shops. It's tiny. But I think Somerset has been a place which has really inspired our brand from A to Z. So to actually have a permanent, you know, physical space there where people can come and gather, they can do a workshop, they can see, they can feel, they can have that energy between them. That was important for us in our journey, to have this community space where people can commune.
Liberty is really the first place that I'm going to be able to showcase our vision properly. So I'm really grateful.
Very exciting.
So I'm really grateful that a store like Liberty, that I feel personally very connected to, are giving me the opportunity to do that. partners like Liberty who are like, we believe in what you're doing. Same with Kate, we're growing you. We believe in the journey of you. We want to build your brand with you, and we're going to give you the chance to have the space.
And actually, you're setting out then on this kind of confident platform that people behind it believe in you, and they give you the platform to be able to. It's everything. Because without that, it's really hard. You know, as Yasmin said, being on a shelf, isolated with other brands, it's hard to stand out. It's hard to convey your brand story.
I want to ask, as someone, so say, I think I have a sort of moderate sense of intuition, but if I was someone who didn't really know how to use my intuition, I wasn't used to this more intentional way of living, like, I said, what are your tips for getting in touch with that more spiritual side of yourself? So, you know, the people you connect with, even, you know, in this extent, the fragrances or the sort of brands that you connect with, or who you are as a person.
I think it's the first step is being in touch with yourself. I think it really starts with the self. And I think if you're recognizing and feeling and being aware of those feelings, then that's really the step one. Is and then I think it's practice. I think it also just comes with trust. Yeah, absolutely. Trusting your thoughts or the voices that come into your head, and actually being confident and going with it. And I think we're both intuition-led brands in some way. Sometimes I feel there's no rhyme or reason. It just feels right. And then that's what we're going to do.
Do you think, because both of you have this extensive background actually in the fashion industry and, you know, held really prestigious positions at various different brands and companies, do you think that has almost like that's given you confidence in your own?
Yeah, I think definitely coming from fashion, if you look at the industry itself, it's really based on the future. You know, designers are designing things that people don't know yet that they want or need or will relate to aesthetically. So it's definitely quite visionary as an industry, much more than beauty is. So I think the fact that we've both had long careers in fashion has definitely played a part in what we're doing today.
So, Kate, you work with your partner Remy.
I do, yeah.
And can you talk a bit about your different skill sets and experiences and which parts of the brand you both manage?
I mean, we work together on the ethos and, you know, the way everything looks and feels, but in the terms of the day-to-day, he looks very firmly after everything, product design, packaging, anything aesthetically driven. And I look after the other side. Yeah.
Nice. And Yasmin, you know, you started the brand by yourself. What were the sort of first roles or people or sort of partners that you were like, okay, this is not necessarily outside my skill set, but I need a complementary energy in this area?
Yeah, well, obviously I'd never made a product before. I'd never made a fragrance before. I didn't know how to do it at all. So I think that was that was a little overwhelming. Like, oh, how do I do it? I had no problems with the vision and what I was doing, and I could see it all visually. All of that was 100% clear. The execution and making of the actual product itself is the one thing I really didn't know how to do. But obviously I come from a fashion background, I come from a retail background, and I come from a creative background. So I can flick between both, but it was the execution of the actual product that was the journey.
Obviously you tell the story of your brand so beautifully, but when you're building a business you also have to interact with people that are much more, they're driven by data, they're driven by numbers, they might not necessarily understand the value of intuition in building a business. Is there a way or a tip that you have for navigating those conversations, or did you learn how to translate what you were saying into the language of those kinds of people?
I mean, I think there's always a little bit of translating. We're still very young. And I think in our journey, we're looking for people, I guess, as we go through the journey, who are like-minded, who actually understand that building something takes time, that if you weave in a lot of the data, you kind of destroy the magic. You know, I think what is, you know, when you look at our businesses, there's a certain magic, there's something that doesn't follow what everyone else is doing. And I think if you apply too much data to that, you'll actually end up with a boring brand that's just following the same playbook. And I don't think either of us would want to create that.
Totally. I was just trying to think about something that I remember one of my previous companies that I worked for when I was in fashion. I did an interview about data. And I said, fashion authority doesn't come from analysing data. And it was an uproar in the company, and everyone hated me. The entire data team hated me because I'd made this comment. But actually what I was trying to say was, if you want to lead and do something that's completely unique and individual, and it has waving like a whole new path, that is not coming from data. Data's wonderful because you can see what's happening. Who's my customer? What am I learning? What are they coming back for? All those things I love. It's super interesting, but the vision cannot come from that. And I think this comes from our fashion background, because when I used to be a buyer, I was one of those buyers who I wasn't like a merchandiser buyer. Merchandiser more the one to analyze the data from last season. We never sold yellow last season, and but then I would go and I would look at new collections. And I'd see the yellow, and I'd be like, "This feels great." And that was it was all in 100% feeling. So my intuition was, "Let's go the yellow." But the other person would be like, "But we didn't sell yellow in 2004." But unless you make those choices, you're never going to keep moving forward, and we don't really evolve, and there's no real creativity that's coming. So, and I think back to the discussion around sort of capital and business and finance, it is about translating. I think the trick for both of us is building our brands with authenticity and integrity that they're not going to go fast. So how can we do it and survive? How do we do it? We can keep going and build at the rate we want to keep building, but we're not going to go crazy fast, really big, and we're not going mass. And we want to hold our integrity, not do anything that doesn't feel right. So the balance is doing that, and to be honest, not going broke, because it's expensive, and
it's a whole management. It's hard. It's hard. It's a hard journey.
We could just sell out.
We could just make it really.
But
actually, that's an interesting thing, because when we're talking about beauty and talking about how a lot of beauty brands approach this, there is this tendency to get big quick, and I think with that, everybody thinks, because there has been some huge success stories where brands have got very big in beauty very quickly. But I think we're both building brands that we want to stand the test of time. We want to have a longer journey, and we want to do things in a more intentional and soulful way. So, and we don't want to follow the playbook that's been written before, because it's a different time. People are feeling different things.
Speaking of picking one thing, you have just one fragrance in your range at the moment.
At
the moment. But, it's still to launch. I think there's often people want to launch with a range of things, or we should have one for each customer profile. I imagine you will expand the range in future, but it's quite a bold move to say, especially with all your training in fragrance, and obviously I imagine you have so many different blends and concoctions. How did you decide that Seymour was the one, this was the launch fragrance?
It was really guided by starting a new brand and the cost of starting something in a sustainable way. So from the get-go, we said we're not going to use any single-use plastic. Now, what that means is a whole different supply chain and cost implication of launching a brand which is in aluminium, which's got a bespoke tooled pump. Just to launch that took a lot of funds. And I think Seymour really came around. The name Seymour is actually the name of the little village we lived in outside Bruton, which is called Bretton Seymour. So that was the name of the first scent. And it was really, I guess, to convey this feeling of the countryside in the springtime, inspired by all the walks that I was doing during lockdown in Somerset. And so it really had this kind of feeling of, walking in April, May, after the spring equinox, the sun coming through, this kind of feeling of hope, this feeling of groundedness as well, with a lot of the base notes that we've used, of the wet ground after the rain. So it actually came from a feeling, this scent. The way our system works in terms of the refills, and actually challenging that current system of how refills work, also meant, we had quite a large range to begin with. But there is a second scent coming, so that will be launched next year.
Can you talk about the sustainable elements of the packaging?
So all of our packaging is in aluminium. So we felt that the beauty industry was really flooded with plastic. And so from the get-go, we decided to say no to any single-use plastic. So that really meant an exploration of other materials. And we really came across aluminium. We felt it was very underused. It also brought with it a design challenge of how we can make this industrial material like aluminium look aesthetically appealing, look good, look different. And so that got Remy really excited, because it was, how can I make this look good? So then we obviously designed these bottles, which were much bigger than most. We then didn't want to use the plastic throwaway pump, so we decided to design and tool our own. So, but all of this came from this, idea of not using any single-use plastic, and then also challenging the refill system. So we felt that in our space, it was full of this mechanism where you got your bottle and then you brought a plastic pouch and then you refilled. And it was like, this is crazy. Why would you mold plastic in a bigger way and use more plastic? So the reason why we used aluminium was that you always have to ship liquid cream in something. So if you use aluminium as your base material, it's infinitely recyclable. It goes straight into your recycling, it can get melted down, it could be reused, and there's more than 80% of aluminium that is recycled. So we just felt it was a really interesting material, and it hadn't been addressed in a more innovative way, especially in terms of the branding.
The other clever thing that I really like is that you also have those marble sort of base stands for them, which is quite a new in terms of a product innovation. That's quite a new thing. Yeah,
I think it was also just bringing design into everything we do. So, if you want to display your bottles, well, let's make something that's beautiful that you can display them on. So we designed the marble trays. We actually got marble and onyx trays that have a cutout for the size of the base of the bottle. They're also the same size as our candles. So you can mix and match and display them how you want. Yeah.
And what about you, Yasmin? You have crystals in every bottle.
In every 50ml bottle, we have it's a little bit of magic that's floating around inside. It's a Herkimer diamond crystal that comes from Herkimer, New York State. They're known as one of the most powerful quartz crystals on earth. And actually, they get sent to Hawaii in bulk and my energy healer, Louise Meter, charges with chant, prayer, and energy. And we put one into every single bottle. It's almost like people don't even necessarily know the crystal's there. And I always laugh by the fact that we even have like kind of eye-rolling customers that are like, I don't give a damn about crystals. I just like the fragrance. But it is a beautiful way of enhancing the energy of that scent and that emotion and those ingredients. And we just put them in the 50ml, not in everything, because we don't want to use too many as well. It's a little magic touch inside.
And how did you decide on the shape of the bottle?
Well, the most important thing about creating that vessel was something that felt like it could exist in 50 years' time, that wouldn't feel outdated. Color was the most important thing. How do I make color elegant and chic and timeless? Because I think a brand like mine that has right now 10 different colored bottles could quite easily look quite trashy.
Yeah.
And so that is like, it's funny because obviously we talk about spirituality and energy and healing, so we're quite woo-woo, but I never want to be so woo-woo that we put people off. So we have this sort of like alternative joke name for the brand, and it's not Vyrao, but it's called Chakras Mist. And if we always say that if something is it's a bit like we're going too far, it's a bit too Chakras Mist. And so it was always like I feel like I've been always trying to balance out the sort of the mystical spiritual side of what we do, which is really the core of who we are and who I am, and then making it aesthetically feel right. Because if you think about spirituality and healing and wellness in that sense, it can go a bit a certain way, and I wanted these to be beautiful. I wanted them to be objects of desire as well as an energetic source and a beautiful scent. So it was a process. We worked really hard on, again, how ethical, sustainable it all is. It's so challenging, and I know what you would have been through. Creating something at that level is especially all bespoke, like Kate's done. It's incredibly hard. And making the choices to do things sustainably is extraordinarily expensive. And you can see why people just don't do it. And those brands can just have higher margins and make more money and do better. And it can be quite heartbreaking. Again, trying to do something at a certain level it's a harder road.
It's a harder road.
It's a harder road. Hopefully people feel it.
We're going to finish with a quick fire round. First beauty product.
It was actually perfume. It was Calvin Klein Escape in Australia on Bondi Beach, and I remember it really well.
Favourite product from the Liberty Beauty Hall, and it can't be from your own brand.
Vyrao.
Well,
I am burdened.
Oh, of course.
I love it.
I mean, I love Commune and I use it every single day. And I'm also going to say I love Olive and bath oil.
Definitely a cheat to pick each other's brand.
But of course we would.
Of course.
Your favourite beauty treatment?
I would probably say, because I believe that beauty and wellness is all about energy and vibration. So I would say a Reiki or energy healing session. That shifts everything for me.
I'm probably the same, to be honest. Yeah, it's more energy driven rather than facial.
Either of you have a memorable beauty mishap?
Memorable beauty mishap. I mean, like 1990s, my eyebrows too thin and they haven't really grown back. I had great big Lebanese eyebrows when I was young and I hated them, and then I plucked them away and then they haven't come back.
Best beauty tip?
Sleep.
Very true.
Sleep before 10:30. Sleep before 10:30 and you are good.
It's so true. I would agree.
Sleep.
Can I agree?
Would you rather never use cleanser again or never use moisturiser again?
Probably never use never use cleanser. Because I need the moisture, and I feel with water you can cleanse.
Or you can jump in the sea and then I think you could leave the cleanser out.
Yeah.
If your brand was a song, what would it be?
Running Up That Hill by Kate Bush.
Oh yeah, great choice. A great choice. Running Up That Hill with Kate Neal.
Oh, that's right.
I don't know what it would be. I think I'm trying to think of a really magical song, like Olivia Newton-John Magic, something magic like that.
Yasmin and Kate, thank you so much for being guests on this episode of Liberty's Beauty Briefing. You can find Commune and Vyrao at Liberty, and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Thanks very much. Thank you.